I'm here with Ann Auburn. She is a doctor who has worked with Mike in the past. Her son actually did a program with him, and she's here today to share with us a little bit about her experience and how she feels about what the program did for her son. We're going to get right into it. Hi, Ann.
Hey there.
Hi. Thank you for being with us here today.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. I just wanted to dive right in about your experience in working with Mike. My first question was, what were the circumstances that made you decide to have Mike work with your son?
We had a rebellious teenager, and Jacob's personality is very much a doer. He wants to do things, he wants to experience things. I would call him a risk taker. He was willing to take a challenge and stand up to it, but sometimes that got him into trouble, got him into experiences with other kids that were doing risky things. And over the years, we knew that he had this type of tendency. So we did a lot of things with him, courses to help him understand life better. And it did help. There was a lot of things that helped, but for some reason, he always would fall back to taking risks and making poor decisions. And it got to the point where he was supposed to be going to college, but he was skipping classes and flunking out, and we didn't really know it. And he was selling marijuana. And he wanted a way to make money fast because he wanted to have money to have the experiences he wanted in life. But he was making the wrong decisions on how to be successful in life. And so we could see that he was going down the path of making some terrible mistakes. Actually, one of the key points as to why we sought out help was that Jacob had been secretly stealing money out of my checking account. And when I realized it was just little bits here and there, and when I realized that there was $2,000 out of my checking account that I couldn't account for, I had to figure out what I could do to straighten this kid out. So I started making some phone calls, and Mike was one of the people that I turned to. Mike was trained in study technology and ethics and things like that. And I had known him when he ran a life improvement center in East Lansing, Michigan. And we shared a space. I did nutritional medicine, and he had a purification rundown. And he also had little courses, life improvement courses. So I knew he had the skill set to help me. And I was just hoping and praying that this would be the thing because I really felt like if this was like a turning point in Jake's life. He was about 17. He had his truck impounded because he was stopped by a policeman and they found that he had marijuana in his car. And anyway, long story short, he was trying to work with the local police to try and trap some of these other drug sellers. That was like the deal they had worked out. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe my son is working to find drug criminals. And how dangerous is that? What if some of them show up at my house? And here I am, I'm a holistic family practitioner. I'm like straight A kind of person. It's so out of my realm of reality that this would be part of my life. And I was just like, I was at a point where I was like, I don't know what else to do with this child. And I called Mike, and Mike's like, okay, we're going to just end cycle on the things that he's doing now. I'm going to have him do production. I'm going to have him write up all of his amends projects for everything that he's ever done that was not ethical. And it was really a miracle. It was really a miracle because what actually happened was Mike put him to work, he got him into production, he got him understanding the choices that he was making were not ethical and they were going to lead to a path of just continual unethical decisions. And he showed him that there is a way to get education, to really understand, not have misunderstood words, not have that lead to making poor judgments and things like that. and to also be successful at the same time. And what happened was Jacob had a court date. And after all this work that Mike had done with him for months, Mike had recorded all of this in writing. They took it to the judge, and the judge was like, I've never seen anything like this before. This is your one get out of jail card. I don't ever want to see your face in this court again, but this is remarkable. He's like, what you have done here, Mike Tyler, for this boy, Jacob Dean, is something I've never seen before. It looks like it really worked because Jacob laid it all out to the judge that he knew he had made mistakes and he now had another pathway to do things correctly and have a successful life without stealing from others, cheating others, lying to people. And he really had that self-realization that the key to life is really being honest, having high integrity, knowing what you know. And he actually ended up totally changing his life, like a totally different trajectory. That was the beginning of a new life for my son. And it almost gets me choked up talking about it
Yeah,
because
understood.
I just don't know what would have happened if he went the other way. So Mike is an angel in my world. So
That's incredible. Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm like feeling emotional just listening to the story. So, yeah, absolutely incredible. And I talked to Jacob, and he was over the moon about his new trajectory that he started making after that experience. And I didn't know all those details, but yeah, that's really incredible. So awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that.
yeah, no, you're welcome. He's very successful now. He's a salesman. He works for a great company. He
Told me
has
about that.
opportunity for growth. He has his own son now, and now he has tools to work with his own son to make his life better. And that is the beauty of study tech, the technology for life that you guys, you and Mike, are going to supply to other people because it gives them tools. It gives them an actual workable, laid out, stepwise technology. It's not guesswork. It's not, oh, maybe this will work. It actually does solve problems. And I see this a lot in my practice. I'm a family physician, and I see families that are struggling with kids that have attention problems, hyperactivity problems, and when I see that, I know that's just a label. That's not what's really going on. They don't need psychiatric drugs. They don't need chemicals. They need technology. They need a workable system to approach their life and to make better decisions and to keep their personal integrity in. And my son, we tried to give that to him. We tried to set an example, but he was in a public school. He was with other kids, and he was in a system that didn't have that technology to help him because he was that kind of person that was willing to, take risks and to go outside the lines, which can be sometimes thinking outside the box can be a great thing. It can make you stand up to a challenge when you have one, but if you don't have your personal ethics in and you don't really understand what you know and what you don't know, you start to guess and you start to make bad decisions and then you're confused and it can just take you down the wrong path. I do a lot of times in my practice, I refer people to places where they can get the study technology, or I give them little booklets about study technology or about ethics or about various things that can help them in life. And I don't know if they always pursue it. I'm looking forward to you and Mike having this great business where I can send people to you and you can guide them in a gradient fashion to what they really need to help them in their life. Because those resources aren't always around. I can give people booklets and whatnot, but it's going to be great to have somebody to guide them like Mike did with my son.
Awesome. Yeah, no, we're looking forward to it. Absolutely. Okay, great. Understood. So I have another question. You've touched on this already, so you may have answered it mostly, but
Mhm.
just to make sure we cover it fully. You are obviously a successful person. You're an osteopathic physician, which is basically a medical doctor plus a chiropractor. And you have a very broad knowledge base in this area and a successful practice. So you're an accomplished individual who is capable of doing a lot in life. What made it the right decision for you to have your son work with Mike?
I personally had learned study technology when I was in medical school,
Oh, wow.
and it helped me tremendously because I don't come from a family of physicians, medical people, nurses, doctors, anything. My family were factory workers and farmers. I was actually, I think, I'm pretty sure I was the first person to finish college.
Oh, wow.
And I just didn't have the lingo. I didn't have medicine as its own language. And that first year of medical school was a struggle for me. And my brother introduced me actually to the study technology. And I was like, oh my gosh, I see. I'm falling asleep while I'm reading something. I must have a misunderstood word. And that was such a great tool because it wasn't just me that was overworked, single parent, um, staying up late, things like that, studying. It was because I had misunderstood words. And that changed my life. That made me a better doctor. That made me know what I wanted in medicine and how I wanted to help people. And there's a lot of confusion in medicine. Yes, you have to be really smart to make it into medical school, make it through medical school. But it is surprising. I was on the medical board for the state of Michigan. I was the chairman of the medical board for the osteopathic medical board. And it is amazing how many doctors make bad decisions. And you could say this about any profession. There's not a technology out there for people to really know what they know and know what they don't know and be honest about that and then have tools if they want to learn something, be able to learn anything. And that's what the study technology gave me. It was the ability to, if I really wanted to understand something, it's okay, I'm going to clear my misunderstood words. I'm going to understand concepts. I'm going to be able to demo this out so I can explain it to anybody. And yeah, that's what study technology gave me. So that's started me down this path of, wow, this really does work. It changes lives. And I knew that Mike was doing that kind of work because when I was in East Lansing, Michigan at Michigan State University, after I'd finished medical school and after I'd finished my family practice residency, I was interested in nutrition and I did learn about that. And I couldn't really do it in the clinic that I was in because it was more of a traditional clinic. So I opened a little nutrition clinic on the side. And it just so happened to be Mike had his life improvement center there at the time. And so I was able to rent space from him for that little nutrition clinic I did on the side. So I hope that answered your question, but that was what kind of led me down that pathway and gave me the knowingness to know that Mike was the person who could actually help my son.
That's incredible. Great. Yeah, nice, nice. That it helped you personally, and then you found a way for it to help your son through Mike. So
Yeah,
awesome.
basically, I always knew that study technology was the key to being able to understand and do anything in life. And I did try to instill that in my children. It wasn't a problem for my other child. She had her issues too, but for some reason, there was something going on with Jake where he just wouldn't take it from me. So I needed
Yeah.
help with somebody else who could, a lot of times we know that if a person can't get their personal ethics in, you can give them all the technology in the world, study tech, detoxification programs, whatever, but it won't stick if you can't get their ethics in. And that was the part that my husband and I just couldn't get it to stick with Jacob. And Mike was able to do that. And I don't, for some reason, I had the knowingness that the study tech worked. I knew that it was the right thing, but I knew there was something missing with Jake. And I knew there was an ethics problem. And I just knew Mike knew about that. And I knew he could help him. And Mike was a very relatable guy. Mike
Yeah.
is easy to talk to.
Yeah.
He's fun.
Hmm.
He can explain things in very simple and understand terms. He can make analogies so that you can apply it to your life. He's a great guy. He's easy to trust, easy to. I basically had to turn my son over to another human being, and Mike was somebody that I could actually trust to do that. I wouldn't trust a lot of people in this world to just turn my son over to them and say, please help with this ethics problem. Please train them to be more prepared for life. But I knew I could do that with Mike because his personal
Awesome.
ethics was in and he had been applying it and I could see that. So
Awesome. Wow, that's great. Very good. Okay, and then after Jake worked with Mike, what was the most significant change that you noticed in his life?
I noticed that Jake was more just, he was happier. He was happier. He was more willing to help others. And yeah, his energy level was up. His honesty level was up. He was actually more excited about life. There wasn't that little piece of him that I was like looking at him and knowing there's some little untruth about this. It was like the truth was apparent in his daily activities and his conversations. And yeah, he just brightened up. It was like a flower blossoming.
Incredible. Okay, and then looking more long term, what would you say after Jake worked with Mike? How did this influence your son's success and trajectory in life, so to speak?
Jake went on to have a series of different sales jobs. He became a really good salesperson. I would say excellent because his communication skills were incredibly better. His ability to just be there with the person and understand where they're at and what their needs were and how to meet those needs as a salesperson were excellent. He did move around to different jobs. I would say life was just smoother. He had some troubles here and there, but after the experience with Mike, Jake would always come back to, okay, I know it's something's going on with my ethics. How do I get that back in again? He had that stable datum of, okay, this is how we fixed it before. Now I've got this situation, like, how do I fix it again? So, that experience with Mike, just even if he had troubles later, difficult decisions, transitions in life, things like that, it would always bring him back to, okay, what's the ethics situation here? What am I not understanding fully? And he also had like this knowingness that there was a solution. He just had to find it. And sometimes, like, he would call on me or my husband or Mike to try and figure out, like, what is the solution? What am I missing here? So, just having that stable datum of knowing there are solutions and not going into despair or not going down the wrong path and doing something that's not really a workable solution or trying to go down that path and then going, wait a second, that's not going to work. And knowing that's not right. And then bringing himself back to that stable datum of, okay, this is the workable technology. Let's apply it. So that's what I saw.
That's great. That's sounds amazing. Okay, great. And thank you for sharing that. So, what would you say now to someone who's like maybe looking at having Mike work with their kid and they're, going back and forth on it? What would be your communication to that person, that parent?
I guess what I would say to them is, number one, you can trust this person. Number two, he has the right technology to get to the root cause of the problem. And given time and a little bit of energy and a little bit of ethics applications, any solution can be solved. Basically, Mike has the technology that works. He knows it works. He applies it. He continues to apply it until the problem is solved and maybe the underlying problems are solved. because many times there's layers to these issues. You've got the ethics issue, you get that in, but then the person has to know how to study, know how to learn anything in life, know how to make tough decisions when they do run into something that's not ideal because, hey, it's life. There are going to be times when you're like, which way should I go? But if you have the right tools and you know how to make the best decision for the greatest number of people, the world's everything that could be affected by that and everything that could receive that ripple effect from your decision, then you can make the right decision. So I would say that's the sort of thing that he could teach your child, and then they will also have that stable datum of knowing, oh, there is a technology that does actually help with problems. I don't have to get mired down in problems and be stuck in a problem or problems that I'm just now barely surviving. They're going to be given a technology or a set of technologies that, and the ethics to go with them that will help them thrive, not just survive.
Really powerful stuff.
This is interesting going down memory lane and remembering all the struggles we went through and the victories we went through, and knowing that Jacob is definitely a better person today for everything that he learned from Mike. And literally, he still uses those tools to make a lot of his decisions today. It's a beautiful thing. It's like, it's not just, oh, you fix this problem and then you don't have anything afterwards, the problem's gone. No, you have tools after the problem's gone. That's the beauty of it. You're not just better, you're better with tools. What I see in Jake is that he can now take responsibility for himself. And if he's struggling or he doesn't know, he can then seek out the tools or the help from the right people to help get through whatever the problem is, something with his son or something with work. He doesn't make rash decisions now. He actually looks at it systematically. And that's because he has the tools that Mike gave him and that he carried with him all these years. He's 38 now, so this is 20 years that he's been just getting better and better because of the technologies that were applied to him as a 17 and 18-year-old kid. So,
That's so awesome, Anne. I thank you so much for doing this. Just incredible.
sure.